Good morning, everyone. My name is Philomena de Lima, and I'm the theme lead for the RPLC migration theme group, and I'm really pleased to see so many of you joining us today to listen to Lidia Carvajal, I hope that we'll have many questions and so on. So thank you very much. And I'm speaking from Scotland, by the way, so where it's dark here, but I'm sure, obviously, you're on a different time zone from me. So welcome, and I ask Lydia to start her presentation, please.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm Lidia, and good morning, everyone. I would like to thank to RPLC for this opportunity, for this webinar, and also to Philomena to invite me to do this talk. Well, I will do the presentation. I have to have here something. Yeah. Can you see the presentation now? Hello?
Not yet, Lydia.
There it is. Okay. So share screen. Share screen. Is there?
Yep, that's there.
Fine.
And now just hit the slideshow. Yep.
Okay.
You're good to go.
Good. So I will do the presentation, and Judith Stallman will answer all the questions. Is that okay, Judith? Well, I was just teasing. Both of us are going to answer all the questions, and all the comments are welcome. The presentation is, what I'm going to talk is about motivations to participate in the Canada Seasonal Agricultural Workers Program. As a brief introduction, I will say that the Mexican agricultural sector was the support, the support for the industrialization in the 40s, but it was left behind with no financial support. So this result in a big crisis, and the demand for agricultural employment was declining very importantly. So the international migration appears an escape valve, not only for non-skilled workers, that most of the people will think that non-skilled people are migrating, but also the skilled one. And for the non-skilled workers, the Mexican government is taking had prepared a program, which is the Canadian Seasonal Agricultural Workers Program, that we have since more than 40 years ago. The objectives of this research, we will say, it's to explore motivations for workers to participate in this program, and we will analyze these motivations through principal components. The second of the objective is how do the regional, individual, and family characteristic of participants influence their motivations, like age, sex, civil status, where they come from, and we will see later. The Canada's Agricultural Workers Program was established and designed to supply temporary foreign workers to agricultural producers in Canada. So this program is demand-based program. If there is no demand, the program is gone. It started with the Caribbean Commonwealth countries in 1966, and in 1974, 202 men from Mexico was sent something like a pilot program just to see what was if it was working or not. But up to now, there are more than 21,000 Mexican workers in the program. Here is the evolution of the program. In 1974 to 103, all men, by the way. But now, this is how it increased. Last year, 21,471 workers were sent to Canada. From this amount, only 3% are women. So we're talking about 600, 700 women. And during the 41 years of the duration of the program, more than 300,000 people this program has moved to Canada. We will try to, why Mexico cooperates with Canada? As I said before, because the crisis on the agricultural sector, off-farm income represents around 50% of farm household income. This is not only true for all the rural sector, but also for the ejido sector, which is a different one. It's more communal land. It's a land thing here. And remittances are around 60% of income for 10% of Mexican farm households. And remittances also participate with 85% or more for local income in some rural communities. This is huge, and sometimes I saw that the remittances is almost 100%. This is some kind of debate because people can think, okay, what people are doing in Mexico, they are just receiving remittances and they are not looking for a job. So this is a discussion. For the Mexican perspective, the objective for this program is to increase employment and family income and also increase farming skills of participants. So from the Ministry of Labor and Social Welfare, they are thinking that people going to Canada can learn different skills, different agricultural skills. How this program works from Mexico. So the Ministry of Labor and Social Welfare select people with agricultural skills. People have to prove they know or they have experience in agricultural activities. The education, they have to have only 3 years minimum or maximum 12 years. So up to high school, not more. Age male should be, to enter the program, should be between 22 or 45 years old. And females from 23 to 40 years old. The civil status, male should be married with children. Female cannot be married, but they have to show or to prove they have children. And this requirements is like some ties they have with Mexico. And in general, they have to be healthy. From Canada, the operation of the program is that employers, the Canadian employers, must comply with Canadian First policy. This is regular. This is what every country will do. Canadian farmers submit their labor requests through farms, and farms send the list to Ministry of Labor and Social Welfare in Mexico. The employer agrees to hire the worker no less than 6 weeks and up to 8 months, and provide suitable free accommodation and pay a portion of the cost of the flight, other ground transportation and visa fees, as well as health security. That kind of fees the Canadian employer will pay. Well, this is Mexico, and mainly where people go from Mexico to Canada are from the central south part of Mexico. 23% comes from the state of Mexico. This dot here is the Mexico City. 60% from Tlaxcala, there's another state. 7.2% from Guanajuato, this is Guanajuato, central part of Mexico. Puebla, Morelos, it's south of Mexico City. Hidalgo, a little north, but still in the central part of Mexico. Veracruz, Oaxaca, and Michoacan. And the rest of the people will go from Campeche, Chiapas, Tabasco, Yucatan, but not from north part of Mexico. These states, people from these states tend to go to the US instead to Canada. Because people here, the objective of these people going to the US is to stay there permanently. How we design our research? The secondary data was very scarce. So we had to go with interviews, and we did like 20 in-depth interviews. From that information we gathered, we could organize a survey, and we had 257 personal interviews with Mexican agricultural workers, and the survey had more than 100 questions and took like 3 hours each to complete personally, because we have no other way to do that. 76% of the people were located in Simcoe, Leamington. Here is Simcoe, Leamington, Hamilton, Bradford, and other people from, where is Toronto? Okay, here's Toronto, perhaps Niagara around here. Where we find people, usually every Friday, what the employer does is they take the employees to a supermarket this is food basics in Simcoe. So what the Mexican workers do is they go into the store, they buy all the things they need, all the groceries they need, they put in a basket, and as they are from 5 to 9 p.m. in this place, they leave all the things in the basket and they go to chat, to buy other things and to know more people. Also, we went to the support centers. Here's in Leamington. And another place, we went to some companies. They send money to Mexico, like this Binmex, and we catch people there and we ask for help to complete our survey. Also, I went to the where they work. I was trying to help, but it was too hard. Houses, this is one of the houses where they live, the backyard. These other houses, this is from outside, this is inside, this is my research assistant who's helping me. And well, on theory, we will find 3 big groups of motivations for migration. One is related with income, job, and education. This is some of the works. The second is security needs, and the third one is because of networks. We took mainly the first and the third group, and after the in-depth interviews, we select these 12 motivations, items, or reasons, and we ask them to score from 1 to 5, being the 1 the less important and the 5 the most important one. So to earn more income, to enhance my family standards of living, because of low wages in Mexico, to earn a stable income. This, the first, the third, and the fourth one are very related, but it's slightly different. To put my children to school, this is more human capital, just for education. To improve my house. Some of the houses for people are they use as workshops in Mexico. So if they improve the houses, the business can be improved too. to invest in my farm, to learn new skills. This is if what the Minister of Labor and Social Welfare is thinking. They learn new skills, or they think that it's important motivation. We will see later if it is. For experience of others that work in Canada, this is more like a network. To invest in a new business, to see another country as a way to migrate to Canada. And these are the results. Only 8, the 12 reasons are scored here, and the most important is to earn more income. Everyone knows that. But also they care about the family and the children, the house, they invest in the farm. And so all these items we put in this technique, and the principal component loaded only 3 factors. The last 4 items, like those related with networks, see another country, emigrate, to experience of others, are not loaded here. And so we have 3 factors. Those related with income and family, we name household and welfare. The second factor is loaded only 2 items: to invest in my farm, to learn new skills, and as these 2 are related with farm skills and asset investment, so that's the name we put in that factor. And the third one, to put children to school and to improve my house, is more family asset. The most important component here, as you can see, is the household and welfare, and the other are not that important, but it's important. So to reach the second objective of the research, we would like to know what the characteristic, or how the characteristic, the personal and family characteristic, will influence in each of the 3 motivations. And so we built this regression model, very simple, and we have 18 characteristics, like where they come from, the age of the interviewee, the age of the spouse, the civil status, education, dependent, number of children, if they know reading English, if they are able to read in English, speak in English, the year they are going to Canada, if they work in construction, commercial, or they just operate a farm in Mexico. So this regression model, we use the iterative, seemingly unrelated method that it's recommended for this kind of regression. And the results, and also as a conclusion, I will say that the household and welfare is more associated with respondents who come from South and Southeast Mexico. So this, as this area in Mexico are the poorer area. Younger migrants and their spouses also is related with household and welfare, have lower levels of education compared to those holding high school, and having more than 4 children. This is a characteristic, a family characteristic, very important. The family skill and assets investment, this factor is possibly associated with respondents coming from also from Region 3, the south part of Mexico, with those who hold an elementary level of education compared to the highest level of education, and respondents who have more than 4 children relative to have less children. I will pass this. Surprisingly, that running a farm in Mexico, so this variable, this characteristic, is not associated with farm skills and asset investment. And the last factor is The family asset motivation are possibly associated with respondents who have more than 4 children, this characteristic, read some basic English, and respondents who work in commerce. Here, this result. So in general, I will say that the program is a very good program, it's a good practice. Of course, it's not everything, it's not good, but in the majority of the cases, this program is helping both countries, not only Mexico for employment, but to Canada to boom this sector. So with no Mexican workforce, perhaps you will be in some kind of problem. So that's it. Any questions? Happy to answer, and Judith too. Thank you.
So this is Michael here with RPLC. I'll ask perhaps Philomena to help answer questions. For anyone who has questions, please type it into the chat box, and Philomena and myself will monitor the questions. I know Lydia is happy to take questions, and Judy Stallman, who's at Missouri, is also available for support as well. So please type any questions into the chat box, and Lydia will be happy to answer them.
Sorry, it's Philomena here. If any comments as well as questions would be very welcome. Oh yeah, okay, I see it. I think, Lydia?
Yes?
Can you go to the conclusion slides at the end of the presentation? Because I think someone...
Yeah. What,
it has been requested.
Oh, this? Oh, this is what I said with the results.
The conclusions, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, this is one of the conclusions. Well, because we have 30% of the variance, the household livelihood welfare was the most important factor. That's what we are saying. And of course, that's important because it's related. It includes the wages and the income, and because of the lack of employment in Mexico, it's some of course, one of the most motivation people have to participate in the program. And this program, it's well controlled. It's legal. People in Canada can walk everywhere they want. Perhaps not everywhere, but in the streets they are free. They are not worried about the migration authorities. Anything.
I'm just going to, Anthony Matenko is the one that asked for the conclusion slides. So Anthony, I've unmuted your microphone. Is there anything that you wanted to clarify? No, that was good. Okay,
that was
no
good.
problem.
Thank you. I think this is a question from Lindsay. Okay, where in Canada do most Mexican workers go to work?
Where?
Where in Canada?
I think the province of Ontario. Ontario in the southwest of Ontario, Leamington is southwest, right? Well, that city regularly has around 3,000 or 4,000 people, like the regular population, and during the summer they double. They go up to 10,000 people, and 4,000 or 5,000 are Mexican workers. And you can, I will show some questions here, some pictures here. Well, this is Cinco. This is Leamington, and also in Leamington they have a church, and every Sunday they have this Spanish mass, and so Mexico people, they are Catholic mainly, and they go to this place. And I think also Quebec will be the second province. But the research is just in Ontario.
Okay, I have two questions on the screen coming up. So one of them is from Willisco Properties, I think, and I'm not sure. So it says, I'm very new to this program. Is there a minimum hourly wage that these workers must receive?
Yeah, the minimum, the legal minimum wage in Canada for this sector. For now, I think they have $11 per hour. Well, and this is a good question because in general, any activities like selecting strawberries or cucumbers or something like that is $11 Canadian dollars per hour. But if people go to tobacco farms, they can earn up to $14 or $15 per hour because it's risky. But the thing is, like in Simcoe, for example, the workers, they organize themselves and they have to fill a kiln, which is just like a container, and they can do that in 4 or 5 hours, and they got paid for 8 or 9 hours. So that's good. Yeah, but the minimum is 10, 11.
Okay. I have another question from Ray Bowman. Ray, based on the associations that you made, Lydia, do you see any implications for policy, possibly maybe changes in the way Mexico participates in the program, perhaps, or the way Mexico might utilize the experience of those who return from the program?
Yes, well, yeah, there are several programs for return migrants. There is a program named 3 per 1. That means 3 pesos give the government, the federal, the local, and I think the federal, the state, and the local government give for some investment in a community, and just 1 peso from the migrant to build, I don't know, like a school or to put some services in the community. And I think this is having good results. And also this program is taking like a model to expand to another activities like construction, industry, not only agricultural activities. And and I think if it's okay, if it's working with a number that can be under control, I think it's okay. So the government, the Mexican government, doesn't want to have the problem as the problem we have with the U.S. I mean, those programs with the U.S. are in private hands, so that is some things cannot work properly. Like some people are asking workers for a fee, and this program is not asking for any fee to enter. So it's free, and they can have a good income. It's like in 8 months they can earn what they would earn in around 4 years in Mexico.
This is Judy, and Lydia was talking about the U.S. program. So in the United States, we have what are called H-2A work visas for agricultural workers. And basically, the federal government of the U.S. has very little. It has no direct control like Mexico has. So the farm owner has to apply for H-2A workers and has to certify that they cannot get sufficient workers at the going wage. Of course, it doesn't address the issue that if they raise the wage, they might get sufficient workers. But and then they are granted a certain number of H-2A workers, H-2A visas, and then it is up to them to find the workers rather than them being selected through some Mexican government program. And as a result, also there are some minimal protections for them, but you will find that their housing conditions and things like that can sometimes be pretty abysmal, and the regulation of the housing conditions and things like that goes state by state rather than national. So that's for the ones who enter the United States legally on the H-2A visa. Then, of course, there are many that enter the United States illegally. And one of the reasons they often stay is because it's so difficult to get back and forth across the border. So once you're in, after you've tried 3 or 4 times, once you're in, you're not going to go back.
Yeah, and in comparison with this program with Canada, as I said, to stay in Canada is not a reason to enter the program. It's not a reason to go there, because they already know that if they intend, they would like to stay in Canada, they are out of the program. And it's not good because with this program, at least the migrant can plan the family economy.
Well, the other interesting thing found in the research was that this program for some families is part of their family income strategy, and they don't just go for 1 year, that that the majority of them, once they start, tend to return year after year, and some of them return year after year to the same employer.
Oh yeah, that's a good point, Judy. From the 1,000 or more than 1,000 people, 20,000 people are going to Canada, at least half are called by name. So it's 10,000 people are going for several years. I found a guy in Simcoe who had like 25 or 31 years going there. He was 64 years old that time.
And as I recall, he had sort of moved up into management, that the employer greatly trusted him and gave him sort of some management responsibilities over some of the other workers.
Can I move on to the next question? I think it's from Malcolm. So, has there been much success in turning remittances earned from the program into Mexican capital, for example, developing businesses, family farms, and so on? Or are the financial benefits of the program reliant on continued participation? And I mean, Lydia and Judith feel free to come in, Judith. I'm sorry, I should have included you as well.
Judy, could you?
Well, Lydia has done more of the research on what happens to the remittances back in Mexico. And she did allude to the fact that improving your house is a motivation, but that house often can contain a workshop or something like that that the family uses for family business. I am aware of research in Mexico that, and like I said, Lydia's done more research on remittances, but the other thing is putting your children through school is not a physical asset, but it is a huge asset investment for families to go forward. The other thing the research showed was that they really were not that interested in investing in their farms. The returns to farming in Mexico, at least during the time of this study, were quite abysmal, so that it would make sense. Why would you want to invest in a farm?
Yeah, another part of the study was to see where the remittances go. And of course, most of the remittances, most of the income here in Mexico through remittances go to consumption, to cover the basic needs. But also, part of the remittances go like around 5 or 6%, not more, to start business, to start a small business like a corner store, like small, I don't know how to say, they sell in the street in the small cars, like tamales, tacos, those kind of things. And this, to start this business, it comes from the remittances. And of course, some of the people are proud to say that their children are going to private schools, and they can afford now that piece. I know in all the world, private schools are not cheap, and here in Mexico are very, very expensive. One of the interviewee told me, okay, my daughter now it's neurologist, and she has not only one computer, she has 2 computers, and the other is an engineer. And they went to the Tecnológico de Monterrey, which is a very expensive school in Mexico. And so they are proud to say that. And also the other and not material thing is they are very famous, or very, very respected in their community. When they return from Canada, the community is happy because he is the one who will pay for some parties, for some things in the church, and they are well respected. And this is one of the emotional things that it's important from this program.
There is evidence that there is a lot of contributions to the church and the local community, and someone from the United States might find that that's not, from our cultural point of view, might suggest that that's not a good use of remittances. But in the Mexican culture, and with the importance of community and extended family, these sorts of things help continue those community ties.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Thank you. there's a question from Lindsay, who says, how do the Mexican workers find out about these opportunities in their communities where they live? And what networks are there at the local level in Mexico to promote them?
Okay, at the beginning of the program, there was just one window, which was in Mexico City. But as this program was increasing, people start to talk to their relatives, and also the Minister of Labor and Social Welfare, they were putting some advertisements in rural communities, like in the church, like in the central part of the community, saying, would you like to go to work in Canada? Go or call this number. And that's how they know about this program. And nowadays, the program is in everywhere, like all the state, even municipal offices from this Ministry of Labor and Social Welfare knows and can give this information. Like here in Toluca, for example, we have an office and people just in charge for this program, and also in some rural communities, but not remote rural communities. However, we have some people from rural, very remote areas going to this through this program to Canada. Yeah, perhaps in Chiapas, for example, this is one. Perhaps Lina will know about this, but in Chiapas, I saw in the plaza an advertisement saying, "Okay, are you tired of not finding job in Mexico? Go to Canada." Yeah, that's the way.
Whilst okay, I was going to. Okay, there's another question from Ray. So, okay, how do you respond to the criticism by some Canadians that the SWAP program are indentured? SWAP workers are indentured, because if there's any issue, the SWAP worker is almost always sent home immediately. E.g., for example, the worker almost never has the opportunity to move to a different employer.
Yeah.
So they're fairly stuck with one employer once they sign up to the particular program. Yeah,
that's true. I heard lately, for example, last year, five not Canadian, but employers were retired from farms or from the list because of bad treatment. And yeah, I know, I'm aware of these cases. And well, I think the Mexican government is taking some measures to avoid this kind of thing. Like, for example, in Leamington, as there are lots of people there, lots of Mexican people there, they have consulate only to not only, but mainly to attend these cases. And I think from 2012, Mexican workers can be unionized now. So these kind of cases, I hope, will diminish. But yeah, the thing is, when you have a different perspective, like the Canadian will have about the houses and the treatment, it's the fair or the justice for you is a little different for justice here in Mexico. In Mexico, if you compare, these people have nothing in Mexico. So if you compare where they live in Canada and if you know where they live here in Mexico, they are better off there than here. So not only the payment, but the standard of living, the security. Here in Mexico, nobody is secure. So this is that kind. This is one of the debates. What is fair? From Canadian perspective, it's not fair. From Mexican perspective, it's more than fair. This program, of course, with all the cases. Yeah.
So can I ask Michael? I don't know if you've seen the chat, but could you unmute Linamar's mic, because I think she has a point to make about this issue.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's only to add about the situation in Chiapas. I'm working, my PhD, it's about the program, but I will say that the last time when I did pre-field work, the persons, the people responsible in there is the local office, because the program has different agreements depending I don't know how it works in the Estado de Mexico where Lidia is, but in Chiapas is the state who works directly with controls, I would say, the program. So they say that now they don't advertise because they have too many people wanting to go, because you know that this snowball thing, how things are going, and they are all independently of the critics and the results and these situations that Ray was arising about mistreatment and many aspects that we criticize about the program. Workers, they want to go. So
I wonder whether, going back to Lydia's point about, you know, the different perspectives, if you like, of Mexican workers in Canada seeing their conditions in a different way. I don't know if people have comments about that in terms of, you know, migrants, comparing it to what life's like back at home. Any other points that people would like to make about that, or any work folk have done that would be relevant?
If I can add something, I will say, okay, this idea of free work or job, that you go and you have to work for a employer and you cannot move to another farm. If I compare with myself here in Mexico, like if I move to another university to work for another university, all the years that I was working for this university is gone. So that's the way that the work here in Mexico. It's not like in your countries. If you go to work to another place, the years that you are working is still accumulating. But here in Mexico, no. So it's not like just an free workforce for these workers in Canada. Here in Mexico, everybody is suffering of how this situation. So I think that's the huge difference between Mexico and our countries, Latin American countries, with the other countries. I won't say more advanced, but different organization, at least in the labor market.
Okay. Okay, we have another question from Anthony. Does the research indicate reasons that Mexican workers would prefer or not prefer, either way, to live in Canada permanently with their family if they were given the option?
Well, if they were given the option, yes, they will stay there. In fact, I know directly 2 cases. When we were doing our survey, I know 2 cases of Mexican workers that went to Canada as a worker, and they stayed there and they married a Canadian woman. Of course, they are not anymore in the program, but he is living there. And he said, I won't change my decision. It's something that I didn't know before, but once I was here and I know this country, I know the organization, all the things, of course I would prefer to stay there, to stay here than going to Mexico. However, of course, some people who have several children, it's not as easy as having just one, like this guy had just one kid here in Mexico. And but Mexicans are very family related, so it's not easy for them to move. At least through this, at least to Canada.
This is Judy. Research in the United States does show that when immigrants first come, their real goal is to make some money to help the family and to return home. If they're coming in without papers, then our system of making it so difficult to cross back and forth basically forces them to stay. But there is a lot of evidence, as Lydia said, that family is very important and that many of them would prefer to be able to go back and forth, come for a time, work, leave, go back again. Going back to Ray's point about when things don't work out, they're sent home, they can't change employers. And I see Ingrid has said this, that the work permits are employer bounded. And that is the same in the United States with our H-2A work visas, and in fact with our, I can't remember what they're called, for highly skilled workers. They are dependent on your employer. And if they are temporary, you have no alternative. With the higher skilled workers, the visas are longer lasting, and after some period of time, if you are willing to go through all of the work and costs, you may be able to move to another employer. But most of these work visas are employer bounded.
Yeah.
I just wondered, whilst others are thinking of other questions or comments to make, whether I could ask about, the fact that you identified that there were predominantly males who, and I just wonder whether there were any gender-specific issues that arose. I mean, I know that you weren't looking at that in this particular presentation, but were there specific issues around gender that emerged, either, in terms of their lives in Canada or the impacts that had on their families back in Mexico, for example?
Yeah, thank you, Vilomena. I was waiting for that question. The evidence we have from this particular program and for the women who participate in this program is that the remittances or the amount of money they send is very different. Men, for example, as more time, more years they go to Canada, they tend to send less money. Whereas women, they tend to send more money because they are more, I don't know, they care more about the children or their relatives than men do. That's one of the, they behave differently. And of course, in Canada, why men send less money? Because as they know more places, more people, they tend to go to bars and to some more expensive restaurants, and they spend their money there. However, they still sending money, but not the same amount as in the earliest or in the starting years.
This is Judy. I think the other important thing is that the program originally was just for men.
Right.
And it was only later that they started allowing women. And as you could see when Lydia put up one of those slides, there are in fact different rules for women and men. And the other thing is that, as I understand it, and Lydia can correct me if I have this wrong, the employers can specify whether they want men or women. Yeah. And they specify that they want women for work in greenhouses and plant selection and things like that. And they tend to specify they want men for outdoor work.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, for example, in farms that are more skilled or gentle workforce to select strawberries, for example, or grapes in Niagara, they tend to ask for women. And yeah, as Judy said, only was like 6 or 7 years later, starting the program, they start sending women. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you're right, Filomena. I was really wanted to find, we were really wanted to find women in the sample, but from 257, we had just 4 women. Yeah.
Yeah, I was, sorry, just to, I was particularly interested in, you know, if there are lots of men in, perhaps the scale is different, in a small rural town, I just wondered how that impacted on the towns that they were in, because the example I have is in Scotland, which is very much smaller, and the towns are tiny anyway, where there were recruitments of, for example, for a period of time we had Kurdish refugees, for example, being employed in fish processing factories. And there would be all men, and the men all worked in these processing factories, fish processing factories, and they lived together as well. And that created quite a lot of, and because they were in groups of men hanging out in small towns, that created a number of issues, particularly tensions around the local communities and the men. And, you know, there were some very serious incidents in all of that. And I just wondered whether, you know, so part of me was wondering whether there was, were there similar issues in Canada or that doesn't apply there?
Yeah, when they share the same farm between men and women, I mean, Mexican workers, they have some problems. Well, you know, men are away from their houses for a long time, and so perhaps they can know each other more close, and it's not good. The other thing is that women, for some reason, have more, I don't know, they are not very, I don't know how to say this, but they are more problematic than men. Like, so the employers, what they do now is, okay, I put women in the farm, just women, and men in a different farm. You know? Yeah. I don't know if that's something related with what you were saying.
May I add something?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, there are some scholars, Ofelia Becerril in Michoacán, el Colegio de Michoacán, and Evelyn Encalada and Kerry Prevish in Canada, who are working about these issues of gender issues in the program, because they argue that we continue eliminating the possibility for women to go to migrate. So men are those who are going to move out of the households, and women should stay there, and their participation, which is very important in other terms, is ignored or is put aside. But also talking about this aspect that Lidia was pointing out about the problematic presence of women, is that Becerril, Ophelia says that Canadian employers want to control women's sexuality. We don't care about what men are doing outside the working hours. But for example, in the case of women, and I witnessed something about Guatemalan women coming from Guatemala, that they are treated as if they were kids. They cannot receive any visit. They cannot go out. They need to explain what to do, where they are going. So there are many reasons in that sense, because women are being more less hired in the program. I think that it's a subject in itself. It's very large, because here we are talking about from a Marxist perspective of controls of production and reproduction, and these models of patriarchy following this. So it's very wide, I think.
Yeah. No, it is an important issue, though, isn't it? Because of because of it's very segregated, obviously, even within the agricultural sector, and it's an important issue to pick up. I noticed that there are a couple of comments. I don't know if Lydia and Judy and everybody else is reading them, but one from Ingrid Bean and the other one from Linamar, which makes some points. I won't.
Well, okay.
You, but you may want to look at it, and
I would like to respond to
response. Please do feel free to make them.
I would like to respond to Linamar that he says Lydia and Judy's point of view about being bounded to your employer.
Yeah.
That wasn't my point of view. That was what the law says.
Yeah.
I do happen to agree. I don't agree with our immigration laws.
Okay.
But so it wasn't my point of view about it that it was okay. I was just saying that that's the way it is.
Sorry, Judy, I misunderstood.
No, that's an important, and I mean it's interesting, isn't it? Because most countries have not really ratified the UN protection of migrants anyway. I mean, they claim that they're adhering to it, but they don't actually. That none of them have. Very few of the global North countries have actually signed up to it, which sort of says something. I noticed that a couple of people have left are having to leave. We had anticipated the webinar being around an hour, because I recognize it's 10 o'clock and it's probably a key time for people wherever you are, where the daylight hours have just started. So a couple more questions, if you like, or I know that Ingrid would like to be unmuted so she can make a point. So that's good. We'll carry on as long as there are questions, and then we'll draw it to a halt. Michael, can you unmute Ingrid's mic, or have you done that already? Okay, brilliant. Ingrid, have a go. their problem? Oops.
Well, one of the anecdotes talking about women is one of, well, in fact, was two of the women we met in was in Bradford. They told us, okay, I'm married, my husband is in Mexico, but I'm making good money, so when I go back to Mexico, I don't have to support all the things that he uses to do with me. He's not he doesn't respect me, and so I don't have to support this thing. So what I'm going to ask him is a divorce. So I have a job. I know now other treatment. I'm better treated here from my employer, from people in the farm. So I want a divorce. So I say, oh, this is one of the impacts, the social impacts of the program. See?
So it actually may empower some women not to put up with their oppression, or
That's
I don't know
right.
how offensive that is, but
yeah, because they feel more confident with this job, and they know if and they say that if I do what my job correctly, so my employer is going to call me next year, so there's no problem. And that's a good thing to feel confident. Is Ingrid there?
yes, I think Ingrid hasn't, her mic's not working, I think, hasn't been able to speak.
Perhaps she can write?
Yes, so you should be able to see her email there, Lydia.
No, it's my screen for some reason has changed.
Well, it's because Lydia is sharing her screen, so she
I should put
might not be able to easily find the chat.
Stop sharing. I put stop sharing.
Yeah, and then look at chat.
Yeah, I have Ingrid's email here, so
Okay.
she just mentions that she can email the part of the regulation for seasonal agriculture worker program regarding the exemption for transferring workers to another employer. So her email, if anyone is interested, is Ingrid. Well, I have it typed, so I will send it to the group. And if anyone is interested in that exception, I'm sure she will share it. Oh, and Bill Reimer is tuned in. Good morning, Bill.
Hi. So, okay, no, that's great, Michael, if you could do that. And as you said, the webinar, you'll make all the information related to this webinar available to everyone anyway.
Yeah, copies of the presentation and also the video will be posted on our YouTube site. So, and I also have a fun 10-question evaluation for everybody to tell us how much you love the webinar, or if you have any suggestions for future webinars, we of course welcome them. So materials will be sent by email, and yeah.
And I should add to that for everyone as well, is that the next webinar is going to be in March by me, I think. It'll be on the European Union and the issue of labor mobility. So I hope some of you can join us then, and you know, and also encourage your colleagues and others to join us too. I don't know, are there any more final questions that anybody wants to ask before we decide to wrap up, or? No? Well, well, anyway, I think, well, thank you very much for all of you attending this webinar, and also being very good at asking questions. And I'm just learning how to use this medium myself, so, and being patient with me as well. Thank you very much for your contribution, and do look up the information that Michael will be posting up, and spread the word around. And we look forward to sort of having your participation at the next seminar. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Philomena, and thank you for pushing me.
Speakers, of course, I forget.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for all your for pushing me to do this, because I was a little afraid how this worked, but I think that's good. And thank you, Judy, for all your support. Thank you, Mark. Also.
Thanks to everyone for attending.